Good morning. Hope you're doing amazing today. Happy 4th of July. Today I had a conversation with Nancy Giere on online courses. Have you ever taken an online course? Have you thought of creating one yourself? My guest today will guide you on some of the benefits of having an online course. Let's get to it.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Wow, I am here with Nancy Giere. Nancy, how are you doing? Thank you so much for being here.
I am doing great today.
Awesome. I like hearing that. So, Nancy, I had the opportunity of meeting you at Podfest, and wow, you just blew me away. You had so much knowledge to give, and you were giving it out freely. You were so open, so honest, and just there. You were there to help people. And that's why, I had to ask, can you please be on my show? And let's go ahead and share some more, right? So thank you.
Yes, very glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the topics, obviously, you were talking about creating online content, online courses. How important is that nowadays compared to 3 years ago?
Well, I think with the pandemic, everybody did online.
Right.
So it's become part of the mix. It's not going to go. But I think people need to level up what they're doing
Mm,
because we don't have to rush
right.
to worry about maintaining our business.
hmm So when we think about in the old days, before all this technology, right? If you wanted to learn something, what did you have to do? Maybe go to the library, maybe ask a neighbor, or go to seek out a professional in the yellow pages. Remember those?
Yeah.
Right? Or even the white pages, if you had to go find somebody, or hopefully just like ask around and ask and ask and ask and ask. Now, how simple is it for someone to just go on Google, right? Or for those people
Exactly.
who still use Bing, I guess Bing, but mostly Google, right?
Or ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, right? So and even think about the technology of how powerful it's become, that Google has become just a well-known word. I mean, people know, how do I find something? And someone else will say, just Google it. How do I find the meaning of that word? Just Google it. How do I learn how to? Just Google it. But now they're also turning to, you can YouTube that, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
now, or I know a coach, I know someone, and guess what? They have content. And that's where you come in. You're teaching people how to put their content, which is so powerful nowadays, in people's hands. Why are you doing that?
Yes.
But why?
It goes back a long way.
Uh-huh. Well, we got time. Let's do it.
So early in my career, I was asked to create a course. And this is back when everything was live. And I'd never done it before, but my boss asked me to do it. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I stumbled around in the dark and I managed to put it together and it was okay.
Hmm.
And then the next job that I had, because I kind of liked doing training,
Right.
I had the opportunity to be part of a company that created all types of training on how to use computers, just about anything else you can imagine at that time.
Right, right.
And I had a direct manager, a quality assurance manager, and it was a whole peer review group.
Mm.
So everything that I did, people looked at it and said, here's what you do to make it better.
Oh, that's good.
So I was learning how to do the job, getting feedback, and they brought in graduate level courses that we did on our lunch break.
Huh.
So it was this whole perfect storm. I don't think anybody's experienced anything like that, right? Under that group, because working and learning and feedback. And I got so much from that experience that now, all these years later, it's like I want to help people so they can make it better.
Nice.
Because there's too much mediocre content out there.
There is. There is. And just because something is on the internet, it's not true, is it?
Well,
to some people it is, right? So thinking about what you just said is you talked about when we create content to help people. How important is that?
I think you freeze on me for a minute.
I know, I'm sorry, but sometimes I gotta just chill.
That's right.
Yeah, this happens with the internet, unfortunately. Sometimes we
Yeah.
do just have to chill and hang out and wait a little bit. But so my question to you is, why is it important to put content? And there's so many different modalities that we can put content out there, right?
Right.
We can definitely do a post on either LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and all these other platforms on social media. We can also put short content, we could put long content, but we can also do things where people are actually going step by step. And that's what you're teaching people how to do, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. You want to look at your content. What's the whole journey that you're taking your clients on? So from the first interaction all the way up to like the highest level of training and support you're going to provide. And it's coming up with the right mix of content and modalities.
Mm.
Sometimes it's part of a sales funnel to just bring people into you. Sometimes it's part of onboarding. And sometimes it's really the longer engagement. And I like to help people think about, what are you saying over and over and over again? Because that's a good indicator that is something you want to package into online content.
Mm. Right. So, one of the things I do journaling a little different than most people, right? So somebody said to me, you should create a course with that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But the more I think of it, I'm like, wow, that would be a cool course because I wish I knew how to do what I do, right? And I'm sure a lot of people, and I've already have people saying, can you show me how to do that? Can you show me how to do that? And I'm like, sure. And then I tell them, I guide them through it, but I'm not really giving them the nitty gritty. So is that something that you're telling me I should make a course out of it?
Well, I think you could. I mean, if you're having a lot of people ask you for it, and think about your time, what's the best use of your time? Is that something you feel you want to convey to people on a more personal, like we are now?
Right, right.
Or is it something that you could give them to get the foundation? And when you mentioned that getting to the nitty gritty, maybe the nitty gritty is the conversations that you have after they've taken the initial course. It's really thinking not everything has to be online.
Right. Be live or on a platform like this, on Zoom, on a call, right? So tell me, is this what you're teaching people? Is it only like for coaches, or are you doing this for corporations as well? Are you doing it for small businesses? Who would you say is the perfect people that can benefit from what you do?
There's two distinct groups that I work with. One would be thought leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So more an entrepreneurial audience, authors, speakers, coaches, or a combination of that.
Right.
And oftentimes with them, it's more of a coaching type of a service. The work I do with a corporation, I actually build the courses for them.
Oh, you
So
do
I
it?
do all the heavy lifting.
Oh, wow. That's cool. So let me ask you, if, let's say I'm a corporation, I have, 3,500 clients, or should I say employees, and I want to make sure that they're all trained on certain things, right? So that means that you have to come in and you actually have to learn this,
Mhm.
what we're doing. So you're going to take some time to get deep and into the nitty gritty, like I like to say, right?
Yeah.
So is that an important aspect of what you have to do when you come and work with a corporation?
Yes, it is. I have to learn enough to be able to help them shape the content. I don't have to become an expert, but I have to be able to see the patterns, come up with the flow, help them decide what do people need to know before taking the course,
Right.
and more importantly, what's the outcome that we're trying to get them to. And then I work with subject matter experts to put it all together. So I know a little bit about a lot of stuff.
Ah, there you go. Because one day it could be a auto corporation, the next day it could be like a cooking thing, right? Next one it could be like a manufacturing or whatever it is, right? So you need to come in and kind of like you have to empty your cup, if you will, right? Because
Yeah, I mean,
you have to, right? In
it,
order to get what they have, but then you have to fill it with their information, and then the rest is all your information, right?
yeah, then to really how to put it all together and what's the best way to teach it.
Mm.
I mean, in any given week, I can be across 4 or 5 different subject areas, and it
Wow.
can be like mind blown.
I can only imagine, right? So how do you keep it all together? How do you not by accident, like,
You're,
like all of a sudden we're doing manufacturing here, but we're doing cooking over here, and it's all of a sudden, how do I, obviously you must have some sort of a format, right? A place that you go to to discern everything that you're working with. How do you do it?
I think I just naturally make the shift. Like, okay, well, now we're talking about this. I mean, I went from doing a welding curriculum to a sales curriculum to uh, diversity and inclusion.
Mm,
It's all over the place,
right, 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 right.
but it's just kind of I'm here now. This is what I'm focusing on.
So, and when you talked about you in the corporate world and this started happening and you saw the benefit of it. So before we get there, even like what was, and you told us about what happened in the corporate world that you were in. What made you make the shift and say, you know what? I can do this. I can make this. I can facilitate and help other people understand how to do this because something clicked. There was a moment in time for you, right? That you said, I got this. This is easy for me.
Yeah.
Because in order for you to be able to help people, it has to somewhat be easy for you. You have to know it inside and out, right?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
I think it started, the natural progression in the career when I moved into being a project manager
Right.
and direct manager, director, and I had people that I needed to bring along. And I found that early in my career, there was a group of people, technical writers. So they already knew about structuring content and information.
Mm,
And now it was about helping them. Okay, well, how do you turn this into training? And I started just as part of my work, coaching them and bringing them along. And I really enjoyed it. And I liked doing the quality reviews of people's work where I could just see it and I just instinctively knew what to do. And it goes back to that experience that I described to you before, where I was so immersed in it and had so much guidance that it set me apart from a lot of people that are in the same profession.
Very cool. So Farid says hello. He just joined us on LinkedIn,
Good,
so that's awesome. Thank you.
good. Hello.
Yeah. So when we think about, and you talked about inclusion, how important is it for a company to have that training manual, if you will, right? And all the different modalities they can go through. And then I want you to talk to me about, whether they have to go and read a PDF or they can watch a video or they can maybe even listen to it. So how important is it for a corporation, even a small company, right? Even somebody who has 10 people, for a new employee to go through this training? Because are we taking time away from the manager who should be managing? Yes, there should be some hand holding, but there also should be some like, hey, I'm going to give you this, sit over here, learn it, and then I'm going to ask you questions. So, how important is all of that?
Well, it's all important. And it starts with what are the expectations
Right,
of the job? And if you set certain expectations, that's the first thing I know what you want. So I can kind of see where I have to head.
right,
Then it's what's the best way to develop people? And there's always a challenge because not every company can invest a lot, right? So it's what can be produced that can be effective. I mean, anything can be effective. Video will work. Giving people something to read in
hmm
a self-study will work.
right,
An online course, they'll all work if they're designed properly.
right,
One of the worst things that can happen is if people don't know how to do their job and there's an expectation that's set and they can't get there,
right,
you're going to lose them. So and then you have to go through the whole burden of finding another person and bringing them in. And if people aren't properly trained, they're not going to stick around.
right. And I can only imagine, right? Especially if somebody's being hired to do something that's very tedious, right? And if the manager or whoever it is that's saying, hey, maybe they have expertise in this area, right? Maybe they're an expert already, but there's a certain way that the company wants it done. There's a protocol that they go by,
Mm-hmm.
right? And whoever was teaching them forgot a step along the way. And then who's to blame? Is it the person that didn't do the job correctly because they were never taught it? So would that course kind of clarify everything so there is no steps missed?
It's certain types of professions
Hmm.
where there's a big safety component. For example, I did some work at Pacific Gas and Electric for the gas operations group. That's a that's the type of a job where people have to perform it correctly because it's a risk to them potentially
Hmm.
personally if they make a mistake, plus to the greater public.
Wow.
And all of the courses that we did there, they were tested very rigorously because of the potential of something going wrong and ending up in court. It had to be defensible to say that this is what we provided. This was the type of testing that was done. This is the rigor that we went through to build it, to really demonstrate that we did everything possible to prevent an accident.
Wow.
Now, if there's the reason for the word accident, because sometimes there's factors that come in that are unexpected, a situation that's very off normal. But it's really, certain jobs, like think about learning to fly a plane,
Hmm.
right? They have to spend countless hours in a simulator being supervised. That's the other part of it. It's not just the course, but when people complete the course and they're on the job, then the manager needs to step in, needs to ensure that they're performing correctly. Think about apprenticeship types of
Right,
programs.
right.
They slowly are able to do more and more independently until they get to a certain level. So sometimes I think about, I'm working on a program where I could potentially be saving somebody's life,
Wow.
so I have to make sure that I get it right. Other times it's not so serious, but it's still, people really want to know what to do, what's expected, how do I do it, how am I going to know if I've done it good enough to be able to progress. It's it can be quite moving sometimes.
Oh my God, you touched on so many areas. I love it.
I'm on my corporate side here today.
No, but and it's something I never even thought about, but you're right. It can save a company millions of dollars in a
Oh, yeah.
lawsuit, right? Because hey, we did the training. Here's proof of what we did or what we put out. So like you didn't teach them how to do this. Oh yes, we did, right? And then the other factor is, and I love this is probably the most important one, is that the training can save somebody's life because we don't even think of it. Some jobs are just so dangerous.
There are some dangerous jobs.
Oh my gosh, I know. And it's like, wow. I mean, people can lose their fingers, their arms, that, they can get blown up, fires, all these different things. So, I applaud for what you're doing and helping people understand that the education aspect of a job is super important.
I did some safety training at Johnson Controls. This is a long time ago. And we were talking about things like an arc and a blast, people working on equipment and all the things that they needed to make sure that they were working safely. And sometimes it's the people that are further along that are willing to take more risks because they feel like, I've got this level of expertise, so I'm going to take a risk. And I'm not saying that specifically about any of these companies that I've identified. I'm just speaking generally what I've seen. It's sort of, think about like ladders.
Right. Oh my gosh.
How, gloves, wearing the right gloves, climbing the ladder. I mean, there's a lot of jobs. I'm always grateful when I safely get off a plane.
A lot of people clap when they get off when the plane lands. They're like, "Yay, we made it!" Right? But and it's for I guess for thousands of years, people have had training, right? Someone, hey, this is how you stab that dinosaur or that tiger, right? This is how you cut it. This is how you make it. This is how you eat. This is how you. So we've been trained forever. I put up on here your calendar link. It says 8430. Tell me what that means.
It's a 30-minute conversation. I don't know what the 84 is. Okay. I guess I'm Nancy 84.
There you go. Okay, cool. All right. So you're going to have a conversation with someone about, sure. Wow, you're so generous. I am. And I said that in the beginning. You're so kind. But you know what? You come with so much knowledge. And this is why I'm super excited to be talking to you today, because you're making a difference. You're helping people. You're helping people not only to live better, but also even maybe make money when they're sleeping, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, tell us about that.
I like to just share with people that, there's a lot of people in the course creation business.
Sure.
And one of the things that I think sets me apart is all the work that I did in corporations and really learning a methodology and an approach that I've just completely embodied. And I can now take all of that and compress it and be able to then teach people how to apply it to their content.
Right.
Because I've worked across so many different types of content, from the very, the heavy safety related things we were talking about, to sales, to communication, to really pick a topic. I probably help somebody build a course about it.
Right. Really cool.
And so I've seen so much that I can very quickly kind of get to the point of, okay, what's the best way to approach this? And I just I like it when that light bulb flicks in my head and I go, oh yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
Ah, nice, nice. So, what would you say for people? Because listen, I don't know, a couple of years back, I didn't have time to go to to take that. I guess you get 10% off on your safety driving course, right?
Oh,
On your insurance. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do it online. It's no big deal. Can I tell you? I wish I would have gone in person. It was horrible. Reason being is because even though I finished, they wouldn't let me go on. So it was like extra hours. And I'm like, but I'm done. And I guess they figured people weren't moving that quick. So they
oh
put a
gosh.
timer on it. And I was like, I think it's 6 hours when you go in person, and it took me like 18. I was like, this is terrible. But I said I can only do it in the middle of the night because I was so crazy busy. I said, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And can I tell you, I would have paid triple if it would have gone at the speed I went. So
Exactly.
how important is that to keep tabs on somebody who is learning something? Like they were trying to make sure that I actually got the information. There was a test after every part. So how important is it when we are going through things that we are qualifying somebody for, to even have the like little tests in between?
The tests are good on a couple of levels. One is for the person going through a program. If you do periodic knowledge checks,
Right.
then they know where they're at and if they need to review anything else. You can also look at it from the perspective if you want to determine that people have reached a particular level of competency before they can move on. So it breaks up the information, but it also kind of helps people kind of track, and it helps you to track. And people will move at different rates. So to penalize someone for going too quickly, sometimes there's courses that are done where they allow people to test out. So
Mm,
you can take a test at the beginning,
right.
and then it'll say, okay, given how you did on this test, you only need to do modules 3 and 5.
Oh wow.
And that's something that's fairly common in a lot of corporate work that's done. Now the test has to be a good test
Of
and really
course. Yeah,
test
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
information. And writing a good test is one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah. I've done a couple of courses on LinkedIn and other things on Amazon and all these different things. And on LinkedIn, they say if you want to get a certificate, there's a test, right? So you're looking at it, you're listening to it, and then all of a sudden, okay, boom, a test pops up. And I thought that's kind of cool. I wasn't going for the certificate, but it just makes sure it makes sure that I understood what was being taught, right? And I thought I like that idea because now it's really implanting it in my brain.
Mhm.
And I think that I enjoyed it because yeah, sometimes it could be annoying, like I already know that, but okay, let's do it anyway. But I think that that's a very viable thing, that for someone who's learning something to be able to say or repeat it back or even answer a questions towards it.
It
So
helps to make it stick.
yeah, yeah, without a doubt. One of the things, the reason I do my diaries the way I do, I'll tell you how I do my diaries. It's kind of crazy. So I write in a big book like this, right? So, like a big book like this. And I've been taking some notes and, like this. And then it's a
Mhm.
big book. And then I break it down and I go into a
I have a
smaller
little
book.
book.
And then I go into a little book, right? And then I take that and or I'll even put it into little papers like this. And I'm breaking it down, and I go to my big book, I put it to a smaller book, and then I highlight what I think is important, and I put it into another book, and I take those highlights, and then I do a final where I put all the major points, and then it's not even final yet because my mind is crazy, and then I write down what I think I really meant, and then I put all that into a separate book, into like my final book. So that's the kind of journaling that I do.
Mm.
And it allows me to really see where my mind was when I first had that thought. So if I have a thought, I write it down quick, or put it on my phone or whatever. And then I assess it. Is it worth for me even going forward with this thought? It was just a thought. And then I started analyzing where my brain was, right? And that's how I do my journaling. So for me, it's important to understand things. And so the writing aspects allows me to write. So even if I read a book, I have pen and paper next to me because I'm reading a book and I'm like, wow, that idea just popped into my head from what I just read. Boom, I write it down. And then I go on later on, and then I go back and now I have notes on a particular book I'm reading. I'll do that even on a course that I might be on because I'm not relying just on the video or the PDF I may be reading because now I have to. I think once I write it, it kind of cements in my head a little bit more. Right? What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a different feeling because I have a pen in my hand and I've got my pad here.
There you go.
When you're writing, I think it engages your brain in a different way and it reinforces. Oftentimes, you'll notice in many courses, people will have a handout and there's fill in the blank kinds of things. Right. It could be entering a keyword. List the three key points that kind of prompt you to write things down as you go. Nice. It's called structured note taking because it reinforces the learning. And I find anytime that any conversation I'm in, I always have to have a pad with a pen. Yes. I tried the Remarkable, doesn't give me quite the same thing. Right. But I some of the things I write down, I may not need, but it's kind of helping me through the conversation. So looking at how you can engage people doing something like writing when you're creating a course keeps them engaged and helps make things stick.
I love that idea of having, and you tell me if there is such a thing where you have like a video and then you have like notepad next to it where people can say, okay, and then like these things just pop up. Like during this video, what did you see? Boom, it pops up. Was it A, B, C, right? Is there things like that? I'm thinking that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, you can do that where you can actually have people watch a video and then have a screen come up with a question. And they can either maybe it's like a multiple choice where they're picking something or they're matching things or they're prompted to write something down or they can actually type it in depending on the platform that's being used.
Like we're asking people who may be listening to us now to type in some questions.
Type in the chat.
You, right? Type in the chat.
So yeah, we're here. We'd like to chat.
We love to chat. Listen, so interactive is probably, to me personally, I think it's the best way to learn. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
People need to be doing. Yeah. Need to be engaged. And there's some simple ways to create interaction. One is if you're doing something in this virtual format, is to have the scenes change. If you watch a movie or a show on Netflix or whatever, the scenes change every 4 to 5 seconds. Right. We're not aware of it unless you really are stopping and studying it, which is kind of what I do. And there's a reason for that because the things are changing visually. It's holding our attention. And I saw a great example of this. I never considered. You know, when you're flying, there's always the safety briefing, right? Now, if it's the flight attendant in the aisle, I'm not paying attention unless they're like right there. And yeah, because I got to look at you, because otherwise yes. I'd be rude. I don't want to be rude.
Eye contact.
I can't. I'm with you. Right. But when they do the video, it holds your attention because they're staging the scene every time there's a new idea. And it's brilliant because this happened to be on United. It was beautiful places to travel to. That, by the way, the only way I could get there It's on a plane.
That's right.
But it was a way of, connecting me to the information, holding my attention, even though this is content
Right.
that I'd seen many times.
Right. Thousands of times. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So thinking about that simple shift of changing the visual can hold people's attention.
Oh, yeah.
And then it brings me to the next point is really come up with great visuals that are compelling with one or two keywords on the screen. And people will be like, oh, what's going to be next? What's going to be next?
One of the things that, and here we go, scene change.
Scene change. You just did a scene change.
So
See, you're a quick learner.
one of the things that I loved is I think one of the airlines had it where they were like almost like a parody, and they were all in on it, and then there was like people were videotaping them doing this thing
Yeah.
because they were having such a great time and they were making fun of it, but it was still a serious thing.
They still got the point across.
Yeah, and that's it, right? It's your safety. And a lot of people don't pay attention to the safety aspects because I know it. But if the plane went down, all of a sudden they're like, what do I do? What do I do?
I'm first.
They're freaking out. And then they'll do the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's and I love the fact that people recognize that because it's crazy how our attention span has shifted, right? Even from the decades, right? Go back to 1960, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 210, 215, even 220. It's even gotten crazier. Now we're in 222, and people's attention span is like, wow. It's
Sure.
either we all have ADDHD or there's so much information flying at us so fast that we literally have to disengage, right, in order to engage. So how important is it for the scene changes during a educational aspect of doing maybe even a teachable? And then I'm going to ask you about the different platforms that you have people helping.
It's important to keep things as concise as possible. Now, certain content takes a certain amount of time
Right.
to deliver. And what I would encourage people to think about is if you were working on a speech and somebody said, like in Toastmasters, you have 5 to 7 minutes, you want to make sure that every word counts because you have 5 to 7 minutes. So when we're looking at creating video, we want to keep them short in that same window, even shorter.
Right.
Now, sometimes you're going to do something that's going to take 10 minutes. It may take 12 minutes. But I encourage people to chop up your content into components that make sense, that are easily digestible,
Right.
and have some type of action that people are going to take after each one to make the learning stick and to hold their interest.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I love the chopping it up. So also and I like the fact that you brought up public speaking because when we are helping someone, right? Even if you're a coach or you're just teaching your employees how to do something, it does have to be engaging. The words have to resonate. The words have to make sense, right? So how important is it for us to maybe even have a script before we go on, right? So that we are giving them the correct information. How important is that?
I think having a script is a great idea. And you want to get to the point where you can deliver the information where it feels spontaneous and conversational because you've learned the information so thoroughly that you've embodied it so you can deliver it without sounding memorized.
Right.
Sometimes if we memorize something, if you get stuck in a spot and you're like, oh, I can't find my way back.
Right. When we think about the different, and there are so many different platforms that we can use now, I'm going to ask you which ones, and we're not promoting anybody, nobody's paying us, but personally, which ones do you find that your clients find the easiest to work with?
Okay, that's a really good question. And people are divided on this, in that, you know, they have a platform they settle on and they love it. And I think they, for the most part, they all do a really good job. And it's sort of think about the kind of how they work in categories. So you have the highest level where it's a combination of a place to house your course and to do all your marketing and your sales funnels. And the three names that come up, and my apologies to anybody that I miss, but you usually hear people talking about Kajabi and Kartra. And I happen to be on a platform called Zenler, which is similar to those, but it's more economical platform. And when I made the decision,
You said
I based it on having a virtual assistant that knew how to use it and could get me up and running, because I need to know about how things work, what I can do, but I don't need to know the nitty-gritty details. I rely on my team to do that.
So and it's important to have a team if you're able to, right? Because it makes everything just that much easier, because you can give certain tasks to certain people who have strengths in that, right? So somebody may be good at video, somebody may be good at doing the written words and all that stuff. So it's important. And also, obviously, you as the architect of the course, you're guiding them along the way. And how many iterations would you say that typically people go through before they actually put a course out there?
You know, it depends on kind of where they started.
Right. Okay.
If somebody has a program that they've been delivering in person, or they've run it on Zoom several times, they've worked out the kinks, so it's an easier lift to move it to the online evergreen type of program. So if they're starting with, I've got this idea, you know, it could take 5 or 6 rounds to get it right. And it's more about them being clear in their message and how they've conveyed it to people, and kind of going through and working out whatever kinks there are. It's one of these things that somebody could be a one-hit wonder and get it out in one shot. Other people may take multiple times, particularly if it's content that has is changing. So you want to stay current and keep it relevant.
So, Nancy, let me ask you, how difficult, because nowadays it's you got grandmas doing courses, you got teenagers doing courses, and literally anyone can create a course, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
anyone
take
with a computer.
that's it. All you need is computer and just sign up for the right program. What was the last one that you mentioned? That was what was the name of that one?
Zenler.
Zen
And
Learner?
I'd also new Zenler, like
Okay.
Zen.
Gotcha.
I'd like to also mention that there's another tier of platforms that they don't have the sales funnels built in, but they will integrate. So sometimes if somebody's got their email marketing system, they're really happy with Constant Contact or whatever platform they're on.
Right.
They may not want to switch that over, so they would just set up an integration. And a lot of it comes down to where's your budget.
Right.
Sadly, a lot of people suffer from premature platform selection, and that they buy the platform way before they've built the course. So it's a bit like the gym membership.
Right.
You know, you purchase it, but you don't go. So it doesn't do any good.
So let me ask you, once you build, let's say you build a course, right? Getting it out in front of other people, that's where sales funnels come in, that's where
Mhm,
marketing comes in. How
mhm.
difficult is that?
Well, again, a lot of it is what type of list do you have?
Mm,
How engaged are your customers with you?
right.
And if you've got a great community of people that are following you, it's not as challenging
Mm,
because they're used to hearing from you. If you're starting and you have a list that's cold, you want to work to warm up your list by giving people great tips and information before you start to sell them anything,
right.
and then move it forward from there. You know, there's so many factors in this. What's the competitive landscape like? How have you differentiated yourself from the market where people will look and say, oh, yeah, I want that? Think of something like sales training. There's lots of sales training out there. Well, what's going to make me pick one program over another? It's going to be that you're speaking to me and my needs, and
Mhm.
I feel like you're the one that's going to solve my problem. So it
Gotcha.
goes back to really doing a good job of evaluating your audience so that you properly target what you do.
Mm,
It's not, like selling anything,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You got to be clear on what your offer is, who it's for, what the problem is going to solve to be able to attract people to you.
So knowing what the pain points are, right? I think
Yes,
that's a critical
absolutely.
aspect. You know, I had someone say to me, "Hey, I want you to check out this course I have. I'm gonna send you the link. It's gonna be free for you, but I normally charge $97 for it." You know, okay, I'll check it out. It was a PDF and it was like 3 pages long, and I was like, $97 for this?
For a PDF.
I know. And I
That's
was like,
usually,
oh my goodness, how is this a course? How
you
on
know,
earth is this a course? I was just like flabbergasted. I was like, no, and I didn't know what to say. Thank God they never asked me for my opinion afterwards,
for the
because,
$97.
but, and I was like, wow. And you got to wonder, people are really thinking that just because I do a PDF, I can charge for it. But it has to actually be for, like, even $97, there has to be more than that, right?
Yeah, people are expecting something. They can
Right.
expect some video. And
Something.
the PDF is just a handout.
Right.
It's interesting how, in the way that a lot of the funnels, or what, not funnels, but when people are promoting
Right.
and they're making their high ticket offer, and they'll say, you're going to get $20,000 worth of value for $2,000. And I'm wondering how long, I mean, we all do it. How long is this gonna stay? That we're giving you all of this, but just for this.
Right.
And are people gonna start to go, well, maybe it's really just worth 2,000?
Yeah. So it's that,
I don't know the
it's,
answer to that because
yeah.
I'm the course creator, not the marketer.
Yeah, so for me, I always believe, and I do it with all my clients, I way over deliver, way over deliver. And they're like, I've had people say to me, are you going to charge me more? I'm like, why? I already told you this is the price. They're like, you should charge me more. I'm like, no, it's okay. And because I'm over delivering, and it's way more than they ever expected. So I think that is where you can find success, when somebody is willing to pay you more for what you've already given them.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing this. And I'm like, yeah, because I love you. Right?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, they're experiencing the value.
Right.
It's not just the promise,
Right.
uh, or sometimes the things that are promoted, the value, I'm not a fan of recordings unless I participated
Right.
in the event, or if it's an event that I missed.
Mm.
But if it's like part of the bundle, it's like, I don't know. I think there's just so much information coming our way that everybody's getting more discerning.
Right.
And can we just get to the point? A friend of mine, when she's been on different webinars, she goes, I bet it's going to take them 20 minutes before they get to anything of depth.
Right.
And it happens more times than not that people will talk all about themselves, they'll go on and on and on, and everything stays at this very fluffy level. And you're like, well, here's 20 minutes I'm never going to get back.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. And you know, one of the other things that we have to think about is people's time, right?
Mhm.
So when we do a course, the value I believe is in if it's a teaching course, it doesn't matter what it is you're teaching, but it's like, because we have to respect people's times. And I thank you so much for bringing that up, because if we value our own time, do we want to spend thousands of hours on creating a 5-minute video, or do we want to make a 5-minute video that maybe took us 30 minutes to come up with
Yeah.
the idea? And then we also have to value their time. Are they willing to put the time in to, and like you said, deliver the content when we say we're going to deliver the content? I mean, like, you're delivering so much content here, and we talked about the different ways that you can deliver, right? So we talked about PDF, we talked about voice, right, and video.
Mhm.
What do you think a good mix is for like a teachable program?
Well, you have to look at the content
Okay.
first, because there are some skills that people can't learn in an online session.
Right.
There's some things you actually have to practice. So if you're teaching presentation skills, you can provide videos or people can watch. Here's modeling how to do it correctly. You can give them some PDFs that explain, how to structure your speech. But eventually, the person has to deliver a presentation.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So you can, and then get some sort of feedback. And one of the challenges that people have when you go out into this sort of one-to-many environment is, how can you give people feedback? Sometimes what people will do is say, if you pay a premium price, then you'll get direct feedback from me, because things do come down to best use of time.
And then you can ask me personal questions, or not personal, but questions
Well, we
based,
could.
not personal, but based
In
on what,
person.
right, in
Yes.
person, based on the subject matter, right?
And
that's
what
important
I'm
too.
also seeing is, I think people are longing for community,
Yes.
because we were locked down and alone,
Hmm.
and now, whether we're getting out and about again, as I met you at
That's
conference,
right.
things like that. But there's this wanting to be part of a group. And I don't know, if does this tie into like the nature of being human, and does this go back to the tribal kinds of
Right.
feelings of being part of a group, really in being able to engage
Yeah.
and kind of learn from other people, not just the instructor, but your peer group,
Yeah.
and having it feel more personal, and not just come to my Facebook group and we'll type things in, right? It's just I think there's just this need that people want to come together.
Yeah, it's the engagement that we're looking for, right?
Mhm.
And like you said, back to being in a tribe, right? Everybody's now, that's the popular word now. Belong to my tribe, right?
Yeah.
But it's so cool. Let's put on some war paint and let's just dance around a little
There
bit.
you go.
But let's not kill each other, right?
That's right. We'll do some drumming or something. I
We'll
don't
do
know.
some fun stuff. So, one of the things that I was talking to someone and I said, if your content is like a tree that falls in the forest and no one hears it, what good is it?
Yeah.
So I think the funnels, the marketing, that's all important because you can create an amazing program and there's thousands, I mean, probably millions, probably billions at this point of programs out there that we can all purchase, that we can go to any platform, find a coach, find a program, anything you want to learn, you can learn. So if there's all this information already out there, why are we creating more?
It's just part of the business models now in trying to reach our clients, build relationship, and maintain them. And because there's so much content out there, it's really important to key in on, as we talked about, what are those pain points and how is what you're going to do going to solve that problem? And what can you do to make yourself unique and stand out from the crowd?
Yeah.
And that comes into early in development process to do that customer research, to get that market intelligence, not necessarily sell it and go, okay, now I got to build it.
Right.
But do a little market research, know that you're onto a good idea, and then build it. And that's also a pre-sales opportunity.
Because it's asking the questions, right? I guess if you find enough people like the ideas or the concepts that you're bringing forth to them, then if enough people are interested and they want more, then is that when you build your I guess your teachable or
It's a good
your
indicator.
program? It's a good indicator, right?
It's a good indicator that you're onto something.
Right. And so you said one of the things that you said earlier is that a lot of people join these platforms, but they have no content. And then they're like, now what do I create?
I know.
So would you say pen and paper or even get on a computer and start putting things together first before, because it's costing you money, right? You pay
Yes.
monthly, right?
Yeah, I would say do some research on the platforms and get an idea of how they work, what they have to offer, what the features are. Do you like the aesthetics of their templates? But you don't necessarily need to pull the trigger until you've at least got an outline done and perhaps written up some of your content. I'm looking at something now where I want to use an authoring tool called Articulate. And it's just a place to build my course, and then I'll take the file from there and I'll upload it to a platform. And I've been hesitating on buying it because not quite ready. So I'm just finished up a manuscript for a book, kind of in my whole thing around bundling your brilliance. The book is done, and I'm going to take the book now, and I'm going to use that to build the course.
Oh, nice.
But I'm not going to purchase the software until I'm ready to start building it out, until I have some of my videos completed.
That makes a lot of sense.
So then I'll be far enough along that then making the investment will make sense. A lot of these are monthly subscriptions.
Right.
So if you miss a month, you're kind of
paid for it.
you're not getting any benefit from it.
Right.
Now, I landed on New Zenler, as I mentioned before, and I know you can use it, and there's no charge until you get to a certain point. And it could be some of the other platforms are like that as well. So I would look into what is the free trial period, and then kind of use that as part of your timing.
Oh, that's
If you
good.
want to get in there and you want to poke around and see really at a more detailed level how it works, you can do that before you're really ready to launch.
Nice.
And just being strategic
Oh, yeah.
in what you do. And again, I think we're lucky that we have so many great options to choose from.
See, so you're talking basically planning, right? Understanding the concepts that you want to bring forth, and then even plan on when you're going to start using it. So
Yeah.
that's using your calendar, using
Mhm.
your written word, or your type, whatever you typed into your computer, whatever programs you're using. One of the things that I also have a martial arts school, and in my martial arts school, from day one, my clients all get a how-to. They get videos, they get PDFs, they get assignments, they get all these different things depending on their level, what level they're at. And when they move to the next level, they automatically it goes with them. So and then they keep the other levels. But what I decided to do not too long ago is to give them all the levels all at
Yeah.
once. Why? Because maybe I make them hungry enough to stick around and learn the stuff down the line.
So they
So
can see, if you can see what's
yeah,
next,
you can see what's
you've got
next.
something to aspire to.
Right. So that was my thinking on that. And I think it's worked out really well because people are like, hey, I want to get to do that. I said, you will. First you got to complete this part.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that staging for progress, right? And I think that a lot of times when we try out a course, right? It's always like, hey, for $997 you get this course, and for an extra, $3,000 you get the other course above it, and then and then all of a sudden people
Oh
are
my
like, oh
gosh.
my gosh,
Some of those funnels where you
oh, they're
you,
just
you buy, oh yeah, $47. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
And then you click on that, and then hey, for 97.
yeah,
And you click on that, and then it's like sometimes I'm tempted to just see how many clicks, how much, what's the top level item here.
yeah, top
But
level.
anyway,
So would you say, and by the way, my members get it all free, all of it. And I'm telling you, I spent hours upon hours creating it, but I said I'm going to give it to them because I show them the value that I'm giving them. Like I told you, I just give things away. Reason being is because I want them to be invested in the long term, right? So let's say I decided to charge, which I'm not gonna. If I decided to charge them, right? Wouldn't it be better to say, hey, look, each one of these programs, let's call it $47 or 97. Each one of them costs $47, right? And there's 30 programs.
Mhm.
But instead of, $47, buy all the programs for $9.97 or, $3.97, whatever it
Two
is.
payments of
Yeah, two easy payments
two
of,
easy payments.
but
We've learned
that
that from the infomercials.
yeah, we have, right? So many infomercials. It's listen, if you want to know how to do an infomercial, just watch a few and you'll be golden.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a good value, a way to stack your programs. And you can even say, hey, look, you don't have to buy them all. You can buy one at a time, and I'm okay with that. But now, if you want, you can get all the programs for this
Mhm.
amount. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good
Besides being
idea.
funny on the
And
infomercials.
no, I think that's a good idea to say individual price is this, the bundle is this.
Hmm,
I've even thought about maybe setting something up, pick four.
right.
You
Yeah.
can pick any four for,
This amount.
it's just another way of looking at it. If it's interesting. There's a whole psychology
Oh,
around
yeah.
pricing, which I wish I really knew.
Didn't we just talk about it?
I think we did.
We did, we did. You know, um, Thinking about course creation, and we talked about like grandma can do it, a 14-year-old can do it, probably an 8-year-old can do it.
Yeah.
Look at the 8-year-old who, he's probably 9 or 10 now, who made $8 million a year unboxing videos or merchandise on YouTube. He was making 8 million a year.
Oh
But I'm
my
sure
God.
he can create a video on how he did it, right? He can create a course and probably sell that. And instead of making 8 million, he could maybe be making 24 million. But we can create a course on anything nowadays, can't we?
Mhm. Yeah, just, you know, there's always there's some things people need to do.
To learn.
Um, I'm trying to think of something like I could watch a video about motorcycle safety
Hmm.
or take an online course that would tell me everything I needed to know about motorcycle. But the riding portion,
Get it.
I would have to go somewhere and get on a motorcycle and have somebody teach me how to ride. I could carry forward all these principles, rules of the road, what type of safety gear to wear, where all the where the gas tank is.
Yeah.
But
You get to the gas station, where do I put it?
I can't go from that course into saying I'm ready to be on the road
Hmm.
because you're going to need to actually get on it, probably have somebody watch you and correct you. I would think that kind of there's things about like I used to ride horses,
Right.
so you got to get on the horse.
Yeah, you got to get on
And
the
somebody
horse.
gives you feedback on your body position
Oh yeah, oh, yeah.
and kind of
Nothing like riding a horse on a beach.
you're interacting with the sand. Exactly.
You know,
Uh, it depends on your expertise.
oh yeah. But
What level are you trying to get to?
I
You want to be in
love,
the Olympics?
yeah, right. I love the idea of how you're talking about, yes, create a course, but the course is not enough. You have to also be able to engage with your clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where the real game is.
Yeah.
That's where it truly happens, because this is where people can come back and say, hey, I didn't understand this part, or I didn't understand that part. I think that course creation is amazing, and I love the fact that you're teaching people or even doing it for them, right? You're going to corporations and so forth. And I encourage, and listen, we have you up there. People can definitely reach out to you at your
Mm-hmm.
Calendly, Nancy-84/30 minutes. Click on it, go to it. Nancy is going to help you. You're going to guide them, right? And if it's a corporation, you're going to just say, you can probably meet with them and so forth.
Yep. Absolutely.
What do you see? And this is my last question for you. And I know you
Okay.
have a busy schedule. What do you see course creation in 5 years?
What I see is people thinking of a course in broader terms, not just an online evergreen series,
Right.
but as a larger, think of maybe as an overall program.
Mm,
And what are all of the elements that you need to put together from something that's online, evergreen, to something as community, to something that's experiential, where you provide feedback, perhaps you do one-on-one work, but to really look at if I want to get people from here to here,
right.
what do I need to put in the middle
Mm,
and not limit yourself to only one modality?
nice. I agree. I think we need to be available too, right? Once we create a course, can be a recluse after we create the
There's
course, right?
nothing wrong with the cash register ringing while you're sleeping.
No, no, and I think that's the real attraction to creating a course, right? Because like you said, it's the thing that you're always saying, the thing you're always saying, the thing you're always saying. All of a sudden, it's like, hey, I said that, but now I'm getting paid for it. I think that is the attraction. But it
Mm-hmm.
can't just be a PDF with 3 pages, people,
No.
and expect $97. Now I was not entirely upset because I didn't pay the $97,
It's one heck of a PDF.
but it wasn't all that. And I was like, wow, and they told me they gave it to me for free. I was thankful. But had I paid $97, I wouldn't have been so thankful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have felt, nobody
Cheated.
likes to feel like they were ripped off
Yeah, basically.
because it's embarrassing that you made a poor decision.
Exactly. Nancy, you and I, oh my gosh, I am loving this connection, and I know you're going to be with us on Heroes Rising come August 12th. Thank you so much. What is your last words that you want to tell someone who's listening to us now?
When you're designing a course, be intentional and design the delivery platform so you can get the most out of it. There's opportunities and constraints for any vehicle, and you want to let those two things balance out so you can really be creative in what you build.
Wow, thank you so much, Nancy. I really, really appreciate your time. This was really amazing.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
Have an amazing rest of your day.
I will. You too.
All right, thank you. Here I go again. I messed up. I didn't put my volume on. So once again, what a great conversation I had with Nancy about course creation. If you're ready to create a course, she's the person to go to. She's an amazing individual. She will guide you and help you get your course on track. Make sure it's correct. Make sure it looks great. Here's the thing. Go to a professional, someone who's done it. Nancy has done it. She's done thousands of these. When you're ready to put your course through, even if you just have a conversation with her, maybe even hire her for an hour, whatever it is, it's worth your time. And it can probably save you thousands of hours in putting your course together. Go to Nancy. Once again, on August 12th, join us. I have my Heroes Rising is coming up on that day, 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Take a look at your local time, see where we fit into your schedule. Mark it in your calendar. It's going to be an amazing one. My co-host, E.A. Silkowitz, will be there, of course. He's going to teach us how to become a millionaire. And then I have my great, great mentor and friend, Chris Casamasa, also known as Scorpion. He's going to talk about social media and just an abundance amount of information. And once again, we have Nancy, who will be delivering even more content on how you can get started with your course. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Keep your fingers, keep your face. It's 4th of July. Don't do it. Like I said, always let the professionals take control. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy.